Hello, the elections are finally here, and as Kenya prepares to mark this very important milestone, there have been concerns over whether Kenya will have a peaceful transition. Why? Because we're coming out of a very polarizing campaign season, one that has been characterized by hate speech, accusations and counter-accusation, misinformation, most of which have been allowed to circulate on social media, and some statements uttered in public rallies. Yet we are reminded that while an election is an important part for any democracy, of greater importance is peace and stability. And no one knows this all too well than survivors of previous post-election violence. I'm now heading to Mathare, which is an informal settlement in Nairobi, and I'm going to meet a survivor of the 2007 post-election violence. Over the years, she's been working with women who have had similar experiences. I'll be trying to find out from her what her fears and concerns are now that the elections are here once again.
We're going towards Mathare right now. I used to live in this area before, but after the election violence, I decided to leave. I was actually not live in the actual area, but just adjacent to it. Mathare was one of the hotspots in the post-election violence also because of the population and the tribal population around here. Many of them are from Western and from the Luo region, and also with quite a number of people who are parts of it, sections of it, from the Kikuyu community. So when they started protesting about the vote, they sort of just clashed together. Some came from that side, which is a lot of the Kikuyus live that side, and the rest of here is Westerners, Luyas and Luos. But there was a lot of police brutality also, and that's when the rapes also happened, because even as you see the corridor when you enter inside there, and somebody closes their door, nobody will hear, nobody will care. And even if you close the door and the policeman wants to get in, he will get in. Even if it's a thug, the militia, they also went in a similar fashion. So there was widespread violence, both from the militia, local militia, and also from the state officers. My name is Jacqueline Mutere, and I'm above 50. And I'm a mother of 5 children. 2 boys and 3 girls. One rested, but the others are still alive. In 2007, I was living in not an informal settlement. There was an informal settlement next to the estate I was living in, but it's in the eastern part of Nairobi. Where I stayed, there was my neighbor, but he had traveled up country at that time, and his friend is the one who came looking for him. And it was about 8 o'clock. It was about a short while. It was past 8 o'clock and heading to 9 o'clock, but there was curfew. And the curfew started at 6 o'clock. So by 7 o'clock, there's nobody walking on the road. For somebody to be on the road at 8 past and 9, going towards 9, I don't know what you would have been looking for on the road at that time. And so he came rushing to the door, to the gate, saying that he had been, the cops, the boys in blue were chasing him, and could I open up for him? So I opened up thinking that it was really in trouble, because cops were very ruthless at that time. There was a lot of police brutality also. And so when he came in is when I realized that he was drunk. And so we had because by the time I locked the gate and went to my door, he was already at the door in my sitting room. And that's when I realized that he had some very bad intentions. I told him, your friend is not in. My neighbor, your friend is not in. And therefore, maybe if you just want a bit of refuge until the cops pass by, and then you're able to go home. Then I realized we got into a scuffle. He said he's not going, he's there for the night. I said, you're not going to be here for the night. And so we got into a scuffle. And so after that scuffle is when now he raped me. So I took myself to hospital, but unfortunately, because I had to finish my errands in the morning, when I got to the hospital, it had closed. It was shutting down. Must have been about 12 midday, 11 to 12, because the nurses also had to look for their transport to go back home. So they told me to come back the following day, and the police station was not far. It's actually a 10-minute walk from where I lived. And I thought to myself, let me just go to the police station and also just report what has happened to me. And I went to the police station. And there's a lot of activity, but it was more about deploying things, because there was actually quite a lot of violence in that particular area because of the different tribes that lived in that area. And the policeman at the OB desk told me, what do you want to report? I told him I want to report. I said that I was violated last night. He said, what? Yeah, I said, there's a guy who came and he raped me. Do you know the person? Yeah, yeah. I said, madam, don't you see that there are more serious things that are happening around the country? Can you not see that I mean, now who is going to even listen to your story? Who is even going to take your statement? I'm the only one here, the OB. And indeed, I could see that there was a lot of activity around the police station. The officer, the senior officer was in and out, cops were going in and out, and there was a lot of activity. So I left and I said I'd never go back again to the police to report. And so a short while after that, of course, this happened in January. By February, I knew that I was expecting, that I had a baby. So now I'm advancing in months in pregnancy and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? So, and my health was not good at that time at all. My health was not good. I'd really deteriorated mentally, I deteriorated physically because of the stress levels. The country had also taken a bit of time to recover. So life was not really good at all. So I thought to myself, let me go and give this child away. There's something called, to the Child Welfare Society, it's called, there's something called the mother offer. Now, a mother offers her child to be given away voluntarily. As I'm recovering from the anesthesia, I hear children crying, a baby crying. And of course, it's a maternity wing. Children should be crying. And then I'm wondering to myself, oh, there's a particular child crying very loudly. And then I said, surely can the sisters take care of that baby that's really crying? But I didn't realize that cry was coming from right next to me. So the way you recover, you don't recover when you're sleeping on your side, you recover when you're on your back. So they put the baby right next to me. So when I'm fully awake, I open up this green bundle and I find the sweetest little girl. She was born, she was tiny because I was not eating very well and my health was not good at all. She was a tiny little girl. So that's when I decided to go for the counseling sessions. And that's when I met very many other women who had been so traumatized and much more than me. And so I thought to myself, what's going to happen? So at that time, there was a special programs. I went to it was a special program that I started. And they were taking care of IDPs. They were taking care of people who had fled. They were taking care of other social constructions and reconstruction, but they were not nobody talked about what had happened to persons who had been violated sexually. The women that I met in many places in the former settlements and in other places were all very vulnerable people. People who couldn't speak, people who were scared. There was so much stigma. They had been infected by HIV. One or two had gotten disabilities from the same. One lady from Nakuru Salai still suffers from a hip injury, a dislocation, called PID, some disproportion. And I thought to myself, this is not right. What do we do? There was the TGRC process that was supposed to serve justice to many of the people from past historical injustices, but also specifically to address sexual violence during that period. Nothing has been done apart from perhaps what is the most recent development, something called Polycare, which is a one-stop center for care given to sexual violence survivors. But no justice has been served for the women that were violated at that time. The 10 billion Justice Fund, the one that was established in 2015, His Excellency said he had established it. It was actually supposed to deal with historical injustices. But we don't know what has happened. But what inspires me to keep speaking is for those who are unable to speak. Those who have got children who are abused because of the children born of these violations. The women who continue to be rejected by their families, rejected by the communities because of that one violation that happened in 2008. Those children, Susie, are going to be 14 years. Grace Agenda is about seeking reparations for sexual violence, specifically conflict-related sexual violence, and especially for the children that were born from that time. And one of the reasons why Grace Agenda is there also to remove the stigma. Apart from the reparations that we seek for, apart from the self-agency that we look for, we also want to memorialize and to remove the stigma. It's a key thing. Because if you put a face to sexual violence, if you put a voice to sexual violence, you would kill the stigma. This is a bit of a community center. that was actually started by, it's called Why Not? And so we partnered with the gentleman who owns the place, Coach, and he gave us an office. So our offices are up there. Right now, currently, actually, there's a counseling session that is going on up there for a group therapy session that we have as often as we can. Let me say that. I would not want to say that we have it weekly or that we have it monthly, and as often as a counselor is available. Pro bono, because those services have to be paid for. From Mathare to Korogosho to and Kiamako, we have about 50 women, and all the way up to Kariobangi South. That's mainly a lot of the membership. But then we've got a lot more women in the different informal settlements of Nairobi. It's been a long 14 years of encouragement, a long 14 years of training, a long 14 years of exposure, a long 14 years of affirmation apart from affirmation, they have to get in touch with themselves, because the pain and trauma and healing is a process. I'm part of a political party, and one of the things that I have personally asked at a political party as an aspirant is that there should be a budget for security for women. One of the key things for me is about community structures and community initiatives to engage with the youth. For the women also, centers where women can feel safe, for safe spaces, and for making women feel safe even in their homes. The way they go to work, where they pass, the policies, the working policies of the places where they work, the environment in which they live in, the way they engage with their families, the way they engage with the communities. That for me is a key agenda. I have never confronted him. First of all, because I didn't have the mental capacity at that time and the mental will to challenge him at that time. But right now, post the years, I'm wondering, what would I challenge him for? Do I want upkeep for the baby? No. Do I want association with him? No.